India is one of the world's oldest civilizations, home to incredible architecture, diverse cultures, powerful industries, and some of the world's fastest-growing cities. But there is another image that frequently appears alongside India's rapid development: overflowing garbage, polluted rivers, littered streets, open drains, plastic waste, and public spaces that can look neglected. The uncomfortable question is simple. Why is India still struggling with basic cleanliness despite decades of economic growth and enormous investments in sanitation? The answer isn't as simple as saying Indians are dirty. Millions of Indians maintain clean homes and communities every day. The real problem is what happens when private responsibility ends and public responsibility begins. A person may keep their house spotless, but throw the same piece of garbage onto the street outside. That contradiction lies at the heart of India's civic sense problem. India's size makes the challenge enormous. More than 1 billion people live across thousands of cities, towns, and villages, generating huge quantities of household, commercial, industrial, and plastic waste every day. Managing that waste requires an enormous system of collection, transportation, sorting, recycling, treatment, and disposal. When even one part of that system fails, garbage can quickly accumulate.
In Delhi, people are living amidst an ecological and public health crisis.
डायबिटीज है, कैंसर है, हार्ट की प्रॉब्लम है, टीबी है, उनको सांस लेने में दिक्कत हो रही है, आंखों में जलन हो रहा है.
In crowded urban areas, narrow streets and informal settlements can make collection even more difficult, but population alone cannot explain the problem. Other densely populated countries have developed much more efficient waste management systems. India's challenge is the combination of scale, infrastructure gaps, rapid urbanization, and public behavior. One obvious solution seems simple: just put garbage in a bin. But the reality is more complicated. Some public areas don't have enough bins, while others have bins that aren't emptied regularly. In certain places, people throw waste beside the bin instead of inside it. Waste segregation is also difficult when households and businesses mix food waste with plastic, paper, glass, and other materials.
क्योंकि हमें अगर घर से कूड़ा अगर अलग-अलग करके दें, सूखा अलग, गीला अलग, तो फिर यहाँ इतना बड़ा लैंडफिल तो तैयार नहीं होगा.
Once different types of waste are mixed, recycling and processing become more difficult and expensive. A modern waste management system therefore needs more than garbage trucks. It needs source segregation, reliable collection, recycling infrastructure, treatment facilities, and citizens willing to cooperate. Few examples demonstrate India's environmental challenge better than its rivers. The Ganges is sacred to millions of people and has enormous cultural importance, yet sections of the river have suffered from sewage, industrial pollution, plastic waste, and other contaminants. The irony is powerful. A river considered sacred can simultaneously become a dumping ground.
Hindus consider the Yamuna to be a goddess. Once a year, tens of thousands of pilgrims gather on its banks in the towns of Mathura and Vrindavan to pray and immerse themselves in the water, believing it brings them good health and prosperity.
Religious traditions are not inherently responsible for this pollution. The problem arises when rituals, untreated sewage, plastic, and waste management failures combine. Cleaning a river isn't simply about removing garbage from the water. It requires controlling what enters the river in the first place. It is easy to blame poverty for India's sanitation problems, but that explanation doesn't tell the whole story. Poor communities often lack access to toilets, waste collection, clean water, and proper sanitation infrastructure, making good hygiene much harder. But littering and public pollution also happen in wealthy neighborhoods. A person driving an expensive car can still throw a plastic bottle onto the road. A wealthy commercial district can still have overflowing garbage. This tells us something important. Infrastructure matters, but behavior matters too. A clean city requires both functioning public services and citizens who respect them. India's cities have expanded at extraordinary speed. Millions of people have moved from rural areas toward urban centers looking for employment, education, and better opportunities. But infrastructure hasn't always expanded at the same pace. Roads become crowded, housing becomes denser, drainage systems become overloaded, and waste management services face increasing pressure.
India's rising population means it's likely to keep its economy growing, buy more of the world's goods, and play a bigger role in global affairs. But India's rise isn't assured.
Informal settlements can be especially difficult to serve because of limited space and inadequate infrastructure. When a city grows faster than its ability to manage waste, sanitation problems become almost inevitable unless major investments are made. Dirty streets aren't just an aesthetic problem. Waste can block drains and worsen flooding. Polluted water threatens ecosystems and public health. Burning garbage releases harmful pollutants into the air. Plastic can enter waterways and damage wildlife. Poor sanitation can contribute to disease transmission. Traffic congestion and chaotic public behavior also reduce productivity and make cities less pleasant to live in. In other words, poor civic sense has an economic cost. The mess eventually comes back to the people who created it. It would be unfair to portray India as a country that simply doesn't care about cleanliness. Major sanitation initiatives have been launched, including the Swachh Bharat mission, which dramatically increased public attention around sanitation and toilet access. Cities have introduced door-to-door waste collection, waste segregation programs, recycling initiatives, public awareness campaigns, and cleanliness drives. Many Indian cities have also demonstrated that rapid improvements are possible when local governments, businesses, and citizens work together. The challenge is turning successful examples into consistent nationwide behavior. India doesn't need another campaign telling people that garbage is bad. Most people already know that. What needs to change is the everyday behavior that treats public spaces as someone else's responsibility. Children need to learn civic responsibility early. Schools can teach practical environmental habits. Cities need reliable waste collection and convenient disposal systems. Authorities need to enforce anti-littering and sanitation regulations consistently. And citizens need to understand that keeping a public space clean is not the government's job alone. If someone throws a bottle onto the street, the problem isn't simply the bottle. It's the attitude behind it. India has already demonstrated that it can accomplish enormous things. It has built world-class technology companies, launched missions into space, developed massive infrastructure projects, and lifted millions of people out of poverty. So the question isn't whether India is capable of becoming cleaner. It is. The real question is whether civic responsibility can become as normal as economic ambition. Imagine an India where streets are clean, rivers are protected, garbage is properly separated, public spaces are respected, and people don't wait for somebody else to clean up after them. That transformation won't happen overnight, but it can begin with something incredibly simple. Stop treating public spaces as if they belong to nobody. They belong to all of us. Because a truly developed country isn't just one with taller buildings and bigger economies. It's one where people respect the place they call home.